Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to episode 2 of a new LinkedIn Live series that we started on Tuesday, Launch Strategies for Leaders. So this show is for CEOs, it is for founders, it is for business leaders who want to launch projects that lead to long-term commercial success and increase their chances of securing seed funding. So welcome to episode 2, part 2 of our first theme, which is how to position your business for profit. For those of you that caught me on Tuesday will know that I shared the first three tips with you on that live stream. If you didn't get an opportunity to watch that, you can watch the replay on our YouTube channel. Just search The Launch Strategist, or you can scroll down our company page, our profile page on LinkedIn, or any of our other channels. So for those of you who don't already know me, my name is Katrina Douglas. I am the Launch Strategist. And like I said, I help leaders launch legacy-driven projects that light them up and lead to long-term commercial success. So let's get into it. So like I said, we shared the first three thoughts on Tuesday. So tip number 4 is this: have a profitable portfolio. Until your portfolio is working, until your service offerings are working and they are generating the type of revenue that you want and is in line with your goal, your financial goals, you need to be tweaking them. You need to be assessing them. You need to constantly be looking at your service offerings to see, is this the best fit for my audience? Is this the most profitable revenue streams for my business, if that is indeed your goal? So let's break this down a little bit. And for those of you that are watching live, do let me know in the comments if you have any questions, any feedback, where you are watching from. So let's drill down into point number 4. So the first thing is, don't get attached to your service offerings. Sometimes we launch an offer, launch a product, launch a service, and it doesn't necessarily resonate or connect the way we want it to, and we can get super attached, knowing that actually it's not probably not the right fit, or not generating the returns that we want, and we keep pushing. Now, there is a time for that. You have to give your offerings a good chance. You have to make sure that you've had enough awareness, you've promoted them enough, you onboarded people well enough. But if you have done that and it is still not working, then you have to be willing to let go. And this is something that I personally live by. Very recently, in fact, in the last couple of weeks, I've just tweaked our service offerings, literally got rid of, 3 offerings and tweaked a couple and added a couple of additional ones, because, when you have goals, this is the beauty of having goals and having a clear vision. You know where you need to be. And if what you're selling isn't getting you there, don't get too attached. And I know the bigger your organization is, the harder it is to do. Coming from a corporate background, I know what goes into launching a product or service, the money that goes into launching, the money that goes into product development. So the idea of cutting a product or removing it from your portfolio, I understand that it's not that simple, but it is better that you take the pain early than flog a dead horse, and that you free up the capacity for bigger and better opportunities and service offerings. So if it's not working, continue to refine your service offerings until you hit the sweet spot in the market. And that does take time. And even if you are a business that has been established for a while, but perhaps you want to now get your next round of funding, whatever the case may be, assess your service offerings. Assess your service offerings, because too often we think that because it worked yesteryear, that it's going to continue to work into the future. No, COVID has taught us that business continuity is super important, and that in order to remain agile and profitable, we have to be assessing our offerings, and just because it worked in the past does not mean it's going to be working in the future. And how many businesses are now obsolete because they held on to service offerings, they held on to their standard offering for too long. So I know we hear the word pivot often, but when it comes to your service offerings, if you want to remain profitable, you have to continue to assess them and sharpen them and make them more relevant to the audience that you want to reach. Okay, so number 5 is have clarity on your next 5 moves. Now, your strategic planning should be way ahead than where your business is practically or physically. So, what you're doing today should be something that you probably planned a little while back, up to a couple of years ago. So plan 5 moves ahead. Business continuity is super important. And COVID has shown us that, a lot of companies were not thinking about business continuity should the worst happen. They weren't thinking about contingency planning. And so you have to think up to 5 moves ahead as to where you want your business to go. If you want to remain profitable and if you want to continue to be a relevant business way into the future, you have to be continuing to assess the market and be planning strategically in line with your long-term goals and have 5 moves ahead. So you should know, yes, it might change. Yes, things change. Yes, markets change, but you should absolutely know roughly where you want to be 5 years from now and have the milestones in place that are going to facilitate that. So the moves to consider are, number 1, what does your organization chart look like? So 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, what does your organizational chart look like? And what I personally do is, even before I started to hire people and build out my team, I had an organizational chart with the roles that I wanted in my business. And that org chart is constantly updated. So I update it with 3 things. I update it with the roles that I have. I update it with the roles that I'm going to need as well. And I update it with the freelance gaps as well that I'm going to need. So I have an organizational chart that is constantly growing and constantly being updated, because when you have that, the decisions that you make today are preparing you for tomorrow. So your organizational chart is one area where you need to be thinking moves ahead. What does that look like today? What does that look like tomorrow? Also, if you're an organization that is looking for funders, what does your organizational chart need to look like in order for funders to look at your organization and think, you know what, you are a stable organization, you have the right people and you have the right skills in the right places to be fundable. So the first area is going to be your organizational chart. What does that look like? Because the more money that your business makes is the more, not necessarily in the digital age, but often is the more resource and capacity that you're going to need to make that happen, to plan those moves ahead. Next thing is, what is your product portfolio going to look like in the next few months, years? And again, things change, but you should have those moves in your head. What new markets are you going to be moving into? So I always say start narrow, start niche, but that doesn't mean we stay niche. So even when you're starting in a niche, you should know the markets that you plan to go into and how you plan to get into them. Even though publicly your business is niche, your business is narrow, you should know in your head and in your strategic plans, you should have a product roadmap where you know what you'll be launching in the coming years. And yes, things change, circumstances change, but it's important to plan strategically. Also, if you're looking for investment, investors need to know that you're thinking in that way. Even though you're small, you're thinking as if you are a big business. So number 3, and this is an important one because it's often how a lot of us scale, strategic partnerships. In order to scale and grow, what strategic partnerships are you looking at forming? Even if you don't have any now, even if you only have strategic partners in a certain area, what strategic partnerships are you looking to have to drive revenue into your business? So yes, you may have kind of the direct channels, but also what are your indirect channels as well? And how are strategic partnerships going to be put in place in order to facilitate that? Because if you want to be a profitable business, we have to be thinking about things like collaboration and strategic partnerships, are really, really important part of the plan. What types of businesses and organizations do you want to be working with moving forward? How will your marketing change? So what are your moves in terms of your marketing? So yes, you may be focused on maybe YouTube or a platform like that right now, or maybe you might be focusing on PR, public relations, and thought leadership and things like that. But moving forward, how is that going to evolve? As big as Coca-Cola is, it does not stop advertising. If you are thinking, if you're wanting to grow a profitable business, you have to get louder, not quieter. You have to be present in more places and in more communities. So how is your marketing going to evolve to support your long-term profit goals? So be thinking about that. What are your moves in that area? And this is, all these things are very important when you're planning costs and when you're planning financially, because if that's what you're planning to do in marketing, then that has to be reflected in your revenue goals, so that when your business gets there, you can afford to invest in the level that you need to invest at in order to get the type of visibility that your business needs. So area number 4 in terms of thinking about your moves is marketing. Area number 5 is, what are your moves in terms of your client groups? Again, I always say I'm in favor of niching and starting in a narrow pond, building your expertise, building your credibility, and letting that community spread the word and help you grow and become your marketing machine. But moving forward, of course, you're not just going to be in one market. Amazon, all the major companies that you can think of started with a niche. Amazon started with books. Now they do everything. Moving forward, what are your moves in terms of the additional client groups that you plan to be serving? So when you're thinking about profitability, you think 5 moves ahead, and those moves need to cover these areas. So your org chart, your products, your marketing, your strategic partnerships, and the client groups that you plan to serve. So our final point number 6 on how to position your business for profit is brand visibility. And we've touched on this in the previous point. But strategic brand positioning. Now, there's a difference between just having a nice looking brand and a nice looking slogan, but branding is more than that. It transcends every area of your business, every department of your business. Everything you do is a reflection of your brand. So you need to be branding yourself strategically and showing up and having visibility in the places, in the communities that you want to be known in. So brand your business strategically. So, you know, what does your brand voice need to be? What does your brand need to sound like? What are your brand values? How are you going to connect with people? I often say at the head and the heart level, yes, you have all these amazing features, but actually, how are you going to connect with people? Because increasingly, you know, people are ethical consumers. People care about the humanity of brands. So how are you going to show up and be visible in a way that resonates with the audience that you have today and the ones that you want in the future? And like I said, as you grow, as you increase profitability, you want to be getting louder in the spaces that you want to be heard, and have a consistent brand a consistent brand identity. Yes, your brand should evolve, but when people see your brand 5 years from now, they should know that it's still you. And so have consistently across channels and have consistency in the long term. So as you can probably hear, I could speak about this for days, but those are my 6 points for you. The first 3 are in the previous live video. So if you have not watched that, go visit that, and you can find that on all our channels. But the points for today are: have a profitable portfolio, have clarity on your next 5 moves, and have strong brand visibility. Now, this is actually the first of 2 lives. I've got another live, COVID launch success stories at 1:30. So I'm going to have to wrap this live up now. But if any of this resonates with you, we have a 6P consultancy program which runs parallel with our 6Ps. It's based on our 6 Ps, the framework that we use for all the launches that we work on. If any of this resonates with you, and that's a 6-month program, and you're interested in working with us, as part of that, we do an audit to assess where your business is and to assess any gaps. We then do a launch strategy day with your team, and then we work with you on a consultancy basis for 6 months to really establish these things in your business. If that resonates, let me know, direct message me. I will also share a link in the comments to book a complimentary discovery call with myself, and so I will post that in the link below. So that's it from me for launch strategies for leaders. We are now switching over to, in 7 minutes, COVID launch success stories, and I'm winding that series up. We have a few, but I have a few more guests for you, and I'm with Aggie Matuma, founder of Mahogany Inclusion Partners. Don't miss it. Come back and join me in 7 minutes, where I'll have Aggie with me, and we'll be speaking about how she has launched her business successfully during the pandemic and is doing great things. So speak to you soon, and have an amazing rest of the day. Bye-bye.